My name is Drew Schwartz, and I chose Chapter 7, Love and Intimacy. I chose this chapter because I hear all the time about people falling out of love, and I really want to prevent that with my partner that I'm in a relationship with now. And as you saw in the first picture, that's me and some of my best friends, and the girl way on the right is my partner. And yeah, you'll see a lot of pictures of her and some other pictures that I use to help explain my takeaways and why I chose these takeaways because they stood out to me and I can apply it to my life. So that's my video is a little bit different than I'm sure a lot of other people's, but I hope you enjoy. So my first takeaway is love and intimacy is vital. I chose this because I can relate to this on many levels. When love and intimacy is part of a relationship, my physical well-being is better too. I feel more alive. I feel more energetic. It's not just my emotional health, but it's that whole wellness wheel that we talk all the time about in psychology. In the chapter, you also talk about allostatic loading, which is the biological effects of stress and how it helps in that area. So not only does it help with your emotional health, but it also helps with your immune system as well. So it is vital for life. It is vital for relationships. It is vital just for this world to have. So takeaway number 2 is that there are a lot of different forms of love. And this surprised me when I was reading the chapter just because I thought there was just love. What we learn is that there are 2 major forms, and that's romantic and conjugal love. Romantic is a lot of sexual feelings, a lot of infatuation that sometimes doesn't last all that long. This can falter really quickly in a relationship, while conjugal love is a deep affection with a lot of intimacy. There's a lot of trust in that relationship. And yeah, this is the stuff that usually lasts long. And as you can see in that picture that was posted prior, is that those are my parents. And I made sure not to put that little filter on there because I wanted to show off a little bit of how cute and precious they are. They proved to me what conjugal love is without me actually knowing what conjugal love isn't. So yeah, I hope you enjoy that picture. They are a true testament of what conjugal love is. My third takeaway is that love is very difficult to understand. And I learned this pretty early on that love isn't always easy. And there's a lot of theories that I learned in this chapter that help explain it. So 2 of the most important ones is John Allen Lee, which is there are 6 or 7 different forms of love, and they come in different colors, is what he describes them as, and each love fits better with another person's love, almost like languages. The other one is Robert Sternberg, and he has the triangle, which involves passion, intimacy, and commitment. And those 3, if they are lacking, then there is no love, is how he explains it. And both these explain love in a pretty decent way. The question is which one is more right and which one is not. But it does do a good job of showing how love is very complicated. My 4th takeaway is that love from a parent plays a large role in a child's life. And as we learn in the book that if a parent shows love to a kid, how happy the child grows up to be and how less anxious the kid will be as they grow into adulthood and how secure they feel. And not only themselves, but in relationships that they make in school and in their adult lives. I have witnessed this firsthand with my parents who loved me so well that they cared about me and did as much as they possibly could to show their love to me. And as I grew, I felt secure in myself. I felt secure in my relationships, and I was able to show love just the way that they showed me love. So my 5th takeaway is we are attracted to people who are like us and also in proximity. And as you can see in that picture, that is me and my beautiful partner. And that's exactly how we met, is that we were very close to each other. And also we are almost the same person. So again, firsthand experience in my relationship is that, yeah, the more that you hang out with somebody, the more intimate you get, the closer you get, the more vulnerable you get, the easier it is to actually love somebody. And we always hear in fairy tales of that long distance, and I've also experienced that, and that is very difficult to do. It's very difficult to feel those emotions of intimacy. My sixth takeaway is that intimacy is a necessity for a good relationship. And again, I learned this firsthand experience. I I realized that intimacy takes your inner feelings and shares them with somebody else, and that is being very vulnerable. It takes a lot of trust, it takes a lot of work and courage, but if it's reciprocated and taken in well, the relationship shines. It just turns more beautiful. However, on the flip side, you have to trust that person, because if that person takes your intimacy, your vulnerable feelings and thoughts, and twists them and takes them in a different route and hurts you with that, it can lead to a lot of disappointment and emotional pain. My seventh takeaway is that long-term love takes time and commitment. And again, as you can see in that picture, those are my parents with those are my brother's kids, so they're grandkids, and they have continuously shown me that their true love for each other took time to communicate with each other, time to hash those little fights out that are a necessity in a relationship. We hear all the time about people falling out of love, and that is usually due to them not taking their time, not being committed into a relationship, and that's how relationships usually fall apart. So to reiterate, love, that deep, long-lasting love, takes a lot of time and commitment with each other. My eighth takeaway is a pretty important one, that sex can be used for love and to show those emotions, or it can be used for a more superficial sexual pleasure. I want to get this clear right off the bat, is that sex takes consent with each other. So communication is a huge part of this. So when you're engaging in sexual intercourse, make sure to clarify your values with each other, to be honest with yourself. What are you looking for in the relationship? And be honest with the partner, what you are looking for in the relationship. All of this matters a lot. Are you looking for something that is more one-time hookup, or are you looking for something that has a lot of intimacy and a lot of bondage? My ninth takeaway is developing intimacy skills is beneficial, not only for the relationship, but also for yourself. I put in my brother and his partner and their first kid, because I was shown how to develop intimacy skills from them, and that's why this is one of my biggest takeaways, is because they showed that despite their differences, since they are so different people, that they can work on their relationship. They can develop that self-love that is needed, that shines in a relationship. They can develop how to be more receptive of each other. They can show each other better affection and trust each other. And yeah, despite their different quirks, they are so in love and so happy together. My 10th takeaway is that love can evoke scary and dark emotions, such as jealousy, where it hurts both sides, hurts both partners, and can produce a lot of resentment and hurt. It can also produce things like addiction, where you get that feeling of ecstasy and you just get addicted to relationships, or loving and falling in love with somebody, which can lead to just a hurt in everyday life. It can also lead to a scary thing such as possessiveness, which can lead to stalking or manipulation in a relationship that can harm people in so many different ways, emotionally, mentally, physically, and all of that. So to reiterate, love can also turn from good to bad. What really confused me during this whole process and reading this chapter was how love can be on a scale. There was a whole section on how there's this actually pretty accurate scale that will show if a relationship's going to go well, if it's going to be and how long they're even going to gaze at each other. And that was just really confusing to me, because I feel love is very subjective. It differs culture to culture, it differs person to person. And we also learned that in those theories that there's 6 different colors and they all mesh differently, and some of them work better with others. So how we can rate that and scale that was just something that was really bewildering to me, and how it works I still really don't have a very good idea. The first question I have is, think of a love relationship that you have been in, which is, I'm going to use my current relationship with my partner, Andrea, and describe how each of the theories proposed in this chapter would explain why you loved your partner. Which theory do you think does the best job, and why? And this is a pretty loaded question because there's 4 different theories. The first one is a behavioral theory, which is you fall in love with somebody when you're in an environment that you really love and enjoy. And in my relationship with my current partner, we first started talking and really getting to know each other when we were on hikes, when we were on around fires together, and just feeding those feelings of ecstasy with her really made me fall in love with her. The second one was cognitive, which is you don't really realize that you're doing stuff and for this person, even though it's inconvenient. Then all of a sudden you kind of come to this realization that even though it is inconvenient, you're still doing it for this person. It just feels right. And I found myself with Andrea making her tacos, giving her massages when her neck was tight, and helping her with her homework a lot, and realizing that I'm doing all these things even though it's super inconvenient for me, that I still wanted to do them. And that's when I realized I fell in love with her. That'd be a good example of that. The other one is evolutionary. So evolutionary is they just have really good genetics, and it's a lot of it has to do with reproduction. And in our case, it would be, I think that she looks very healthy. I think she is very beautiful, and she's very athletic, which would be good for producing kids. The next one is physiological response, and that is having something that really revs up your body in a physiological manner. And for Andrew and I, an example would be that we first met when the whole global pandemic was happening and everything was shutting down. So we met, we were kind of feeling tense, anxious. Our heart rates were all getting up, and we always had this sort of tension. But that is what brought us closer, and that is how we started to love each other. I think, personally, the best one that works for our relationship would be the behavioral one. We really did do a lot of stuff together that we really enjoyed doing, and even though it was stressful at the time, it didn't feel as stressful with her, because we were just in atmospheres that we both really enjoyed and could connect with, and that is why we have a deeper, more intimate relationship. My last question is, explain what gender differences have been found in love, and tie this research to an example from one of your past relationships. And so what I read in that chapter had to apply a lot of into my earlier life, actually. For men, they are not told to be vulnerable or show a whole lot of affection, and that leads to a whole lot of having an action-oriented attitude, a more independent attitude, like they have to be a man, so they shouldn't need a woman in their lives, even though they still crave that intimate relationship. They are more focused on sexual aspects of a relationship and less on emotionals. On the flip side, women they tend to be more okay with dating older men, especially if there's even a larger gap. A lot of it has to do with they care more about men who are financially stable. They are more intimate and more emotional in a relationship. They crave more intimacy than men who are more physical. And how this played into my past relationship. It was in high school. I had, actually, this happened with a couple different girls as well, but I was told by all my peers that to be a man, you have to be independent and that you can't be vulnerable. And my girlfriend at the time was very emotional and wanted to have a lot of intimate conversations and vulnerability, and that I desired that, but I also wanted to be a man, and that led to a whole lot of fights. It led to a whole lot of arguments, and it ended up in a breakup. But I look at those mess ups and breakups as a learning lesson. I did learn that vulnerability and intimacy is very good, especially going into college and seeing how beneficial it is to be vulnerable with people. I know that with this video that I'm about to put on, my video series is going to go a little over 15 minutes, but I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you've done, Dr. Tobin. I know that this was difficult for students and professors alike, but we got through it, and I learned a ton in your class, and I just want to take this time to say how grateful I am for you doing all of this and for teaching us so well still. I posted a picture on that last slide. Those are my best friends, like I did in the beginning of this video series. I taught them as much as I possibly could from the information that you've given me, and they loved it. They ate it up. They appreciated just the challenge of the information that I learned in this class, and we bonded over it. It was so fun and enjoyable to teach them, to tell them what I'm learning. And again, with my partner, she loved me learning all of this because it got our relationship better. We became more vulnerable. We got through difficult situations together because of the information I learned in this class and in these chapters. And I could relate to her better. I could understand her better. And it was amazing what it did for our relationship, and just even my relationship with friends and all of that. So I really do appreciate all that you've done and how you still taught us even through a global pandemic. So I hope you have a great rest of your summer, and thank you so much.